Oh no, this sucks. It's so boring. I mean, I'm falling asleep here. Let's just get out and crawl down the sides.
You can never catch me. I'm a television like Espy. When they taking shots when I'm vested, blaze to the neck, then I'ma just snipe like Wesley. I don't wanna kick it, y'all messy. Coming off the bench, don't impress me. Always got an allergy to bullshit. When I sneeze round y'all, don't bless me. Why do you gotta be all in your feelings? I come from the bottom, you far from the ceiling. I'm far from achieving the end of my vision, but I know the secret, I'll never reveal it. Oh no, yeah. And when I achieve it, just know that I'm flashing. Do not disturb while I work on progression. And in the famous, I'm living so restless. Yeah, you can never test me. Cash on the card, can't check me. I'm pop, y'all blue, that's Pepsi. Money don't solve all your problems, but I've never been depressed on a jet ski. So I'ma just skate for the commas, till I'm flooded with the ice like Gretzky.
Does Jerry not grow mustache stubble? Also wearing tidy off-whiteys.
One sin for pointing things out on the screen, and one sin for forgetting that he could have just shaved his mustache stubble and then gotten too lazy to do the beard stubble.
The show's hitting the sad sack Jerry punching bag hard in this opening, even insinuating he flosses while on the toilet. But in what world does someone with Jerry's personality traits even floss at all?
That happens in this world. You know, seeing as he's doing it right now? I mean, just because he's too lazy and depressed to do some of the other shit that he should be doing, doesn't mean he's automatically too lazy and depressed to do any of it.
Rick and Jerry episode!
Breaking the fourth wall to advertise your episode's shortcomings.
That's not a shortcoming, though. This episode is very strong, one of the better episodes in this season, in fact.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Also, pointing things out on the screen.
Oversaturating the plumbus market.
Making unfunny jokes that nobody with any common sense is going to laugh at.
What did you think it was?
An execution.
Jeez, you really do need a win.
Is it really that far-fetched, though? The truth is the Rick we've been shown in this show is probably more likely to execute Jerry or manufacture a new one entirely, rather than waste his time trying to give him a win.
Not really. I mean, Rick is uncaring, but he's not a soulless murderer. There's no evidence whatsoever to suggest that he would prefer killing Jerry to helping him a little.
Resort's covered in an immortality field. You can't die here. That's the gimmick.
Both Rick and his buddy seem to be in pain when they're harpooned and glassed. Immortality should really not be so appealing when you can still feel the pain of death.
There are two options to cover this quote-unquote sin. First, they don't actually feel pain, and Rick and his friend were simply acting this preconceived reunion. Second, they do feel the pain, but you're just an idiot who thinks that would remove the appeal of immortality. Just because you can still feel the pain doesn't mean people wouldn't go there. That's just a really stupid assumption.
Rich a-holes are rich a-holes. They all pay top dollar to come here and enjoy a consequence-free vacation.
Stealing your idea from Westworld. The book, or the old movie, but not the new show, which came out later. So then we'd send that for stealing from this. This job's complicated.
Only when you're incapable of rational thought. Wait.
Mom, do you think I'm hot?
This entire B-plot is dangerously skippable, so I'll use it instead to untable my immortality field doctoral thesis. Next up is the fact that this isn't technically an immortality field. It's a resurrection and regeneration field. An immortality field would prevent death from occurring in the first place and allow you to survive your injuries regardless of severity, which would make this a f***ing horrorscape of a resort where you never die but have to continuously feel the pain of any injury or mishap that befalls you.
Everything wrong with Rick and Morty, ladies and gentlemen. The resort picked a name that prioritized catchiness over accuracy. Also, the B-plot in this episode may not be the absolute best in the show, but it's also most certainly not skippable at all, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Or could it be her massive stripper titties?
In my limited amount of research, I can confirm there is no specific shape or size of titty required to be a stripper.
Discount Jeremy probably has a boner right now. I have no hard proof, but Summer is an underage girl who's talking about titties, and based on his track record, I feel like this is a pretty fair assumption.
Between the first Whirly and the third Dirly, the ride dips just outside the immortality field.
Well, that's just terrible theme park design.
And also not unrealistic at all. I mean, people in real life die on roller coasters once in a blue moon, so they're clearly not perfect.
I don't want to judge an alien race by its appearance, but I do want to know more about the genetic quirks of this species. For example, why does this individual have nipples when the others do not? And why do they have one bubblegum stalk and yet our bigger friend here has two? And why are they bumpy when the smaller chaps are perfectly smooth? You can't give me another new alien race without the proper information to fill out my Rick and Morty decks.
So the episode made a mistake by not completely derailing the plot to explain the inconsequential genetic details of this fake alien race? Do you hear yourself when you talk? Actually, I already know the answer to that.
If she's this big and the machine's still running, how is she A, alive, and B, not immediately popping Morty like a tomato sauce balloon the second he tries to squeeze through there?
Because she's not big enough for either of those things to happen just yet? Next question.
There are some major issues between you and Beth that have been there since you guys met.
This is what apparently tips Jerry over the edge into patricide-in-law. This? An insightful statement that's likely based on truth as opposed to one of the many careless or hateful things that Rick has done? What's worse is that the show never has a problem making Rick out to be the asshole, so why not use this as an opportunity to show him really tormenting Jerry and Jerry finally breaking?
Because the show has shown us exactly that in the past, and this is simply the straw that broke the camel's back. It makes perfect sense, but I'm not surprised that you don't seem to understand this.
What else could reverse possibly mean?
In fairness to Beth, this is a terrible setting description. The setting should have clearly been called Inside Out, which still would be incorrect considering basically all that happens is the skin inverts but somehow leaves the eyes and mouth intact.
Right. And the sin is what exactly? That a product has a bad setting description? Have you ever owned a product? Like ever?
Also, how did the assassins know that this cart was the cart that Rick and Jerry were going to be on? And how could they guarantee that Rick and Jerry were going to be at the front of the line?
They didn't know Rick and Jerry would be in this cart. They sat in the back so that Rick and Jerry would be in front of them no matter what. As for them knowing that Rick and Jerry would be at the front of the line, they didn't. They would have simply waited until they got to the front.
Did Jerry just lift up the lap bar mid-ride? That should not be possible. I know this is an animated show, but I've had literal nightmares about this exact scenario, and I need to know that this should not be possible.
Admits that this is a cartoon, sins it anyway.
The assassin inexplicably waits until Rick and Jerry have almost re-entered the resurrection and restoration field. I don't even think they have a line of sight now.
Actually, they didn't have a good angle before, and now they do. The assassins waited until they had an angle, the exact opposite of what you just said. What's your IQ? Just curious.
Instead of activating a bomb, I just assumed this button was some sort of quick release mechanism for Rick's lab coat. And what's concerning about this is I didn't even question how ineffective and ridiculous that would be. My brain just said, yeah, that tracks. And I am not okay with how this show is reshaping my logic center.
Again, this is a cartoon, and it's therefore not supposed to make sense. Of course, you're the same group of people who struggle to comprehend kids' movies, so I'm not surprised you're sinning this. But it's still dumb, so...
Look, I've never managed a resort with a resurrection and restoration field, but if I did, I don't think I'd put the power source to said field where it was so open to being damaged. I mean, look at all this rock. Why not bury that shit way underground? Rick and Jerry survive this. And you might think that's silly, but the whole episode is about a place with a resurrection and restoration field. And when you're going to have your characters survive a direct collision with a mountain and a rocketing wheel of death, your supposed immortality field becomes about as important as the lowest button on a button-down shirt.
Cartoon. Not supposed to make sense. Turn your brain off and light a joint. The next two sins both contain fake-ass laughs, so 10 total sins here is appropriate.
I mean, balls, hilarious, I get it, but he could just duck down in the pouch a bit, right?
Wait, where do you want him to go? He's a grown man in a tiny pouch. He doesn't exactly have a whole lot of room to get comfortable.
Also, the creature that evolved to carry its young within punching distance of its gonads would like a quick conversation with Darwin, please.
Everything wrong with the Whirly Dirly Conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen. An animal evolved in a weird way. I mean, couldn't that sin be applied to literally every animal on the planet? The only reason you consider this weird is because none of the animals known to humanity have this, but it's certainly not impossible for some animal somewhere to have this, assuming there's life somewhere else in the universe, of course.
Kissing Rick's ass isn't gonna help keep him around, Mom, but it will help you lose everyone else.
Chapter 47 on my thesis, challenging the R&R resort. A title that the owners really dropped the ball on by not using, now that I think about it, is wondering if laws regarding murder and assault don't apply here. I mean, you're still going through the mental and physical trauma of being attacked and assaulted, so are there just no repercussions because there's no lasting physical damage?
Yeah, that about sums it up. Like Rick said, this resort is for rich assholes. Simply asking a question does not denote a sin, my guy.
Like I lost Summer.
Hey, you haven't lost her yet.
No, I definitely did. She's gone.
There is not a chance Summer would have been able to sneak away.
Let me stop you right there. Cartoon, not logical. Turn your pathetically minuscule excuse for a brain off.
It's a synaptic dampener that blocks violent tendencies and controversial thought.
I want cookies and a 90-minute cut of Avatar.
This show cuts so deep. I f***ing love it. But unfortunately, I'm dangerously close to maxing out my sin removals for the season, so I'll just have to send the Cookie Monster shade instead.
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
Wait, I know where she is!
Of course you do. How else would we wrap up 2 storylines in the next 5 minutes?
But why are you acting as if this is unrealistic? He knows where she is because he knows about her boy troubles. This is an example of Morty actually being kinda smart. Maybe you sinned it because you're jealous?
Ethan and Summer were supposed to go camping, and then he dumped Summer.
The next book in my R&R Field series will be dedicated to organized crime. Why isn't this resort being overrun with space mobsters and criminals that can either use it as a place to torture their enemies or as a hideout where they can't be hurt by the authorities? Using it as a theme park is wildly undervaluing its potential.
Dude, this line of logic is beyond idiotic. You're complaining about the park not being used by organized crime, but how could multiple organized crime groups operate on the same premises without destroying each other? In fact, how could one group operate here without going bankrupt? As Rick said, this place is high class. It ain't cheap. As for it being a sanctuary from the police, do you honestly not realize that the police could still arrest people in the resort even though they can't kill anyone? This whole sin is just riddled with very obvious flaws, and I'm giving it 10 sins for being this stupid.
About the rest of your days in denial of your vagina fantasies.
It was a one-time thought that everyone has!
I mean, other than the people that already have a vagina.
Yeah? I'm sorry, what's the sin here supposed to be?
Rick and Morty episode steals the best scene from Everything Everywhere All at Once and the dumbest scene from Doctor Strange 2 5 years before either of them came out. And don't act like that isn't possible in a show like this.
Everything wrong with Rick and Morty, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron is trying and failing to be funny. It's okay, buddy. Maybe someday you'll say something that people over the age of 5 will laugh at. Well, with the exception of stupid people, of course, because you have plenty of those in your fan base. But you get my point.
Oh, God. I feel like our souls were united and we're all one with eternity.
Still a better explanation than anything I've heard defending the ending of Interstellar.
Discount Jeremy is too stupid to understand the ending of Interstellar. By which I mean that he made a pop culture reference that wasn't a sin of the episode. Cliché.
And the final series of volumes will be spent positing that the R&R resort should be swamped by the entire damn universe. This is a place where you not only can't be permanently killed, but it reverses the thing that killed you. So anyone with a spaceship and a terminal illness can come here, die, and be cured of anything that was killing them. This resort should be the seat of power for the entire damn multiverse.
Discount Jeremy continues to forget that money is a thing that exists. Also, we have no evidence to suggest that the resort would cure ailments such as disease or cancer or anything other than physical flesh wounds. It's entirely possible that it can't heal other things.
I know giant, inside-out, Kaigu versions of Summer and Beth are in this scene, but the real monster here is Morty, who uses his bare thumb to pat down this melted marshmallow. Directly touching the marshmallow is a surefire way to ruin any shot you have at not sticking directly to everything you come in contact with for the rest of the evening.
So the sin is that a stupid person did something stupid? Okay, dude, sure.
Show takes 21 minutes and 13 seconds to actually Rick and Morty.
Discount Jeremy takes over 8 minutes to finally stop being annoying.
What the hell, boy? You almost killed me! I'm not going out in a stew-making accident! Terry's gonna die saving the president, or Terry's never gonna die!